Hey guys, welcome back to the Staying Christian podcast. My name is Eli Chamley, and this is
Gavin Hobbs.
Gavin Hobbs. It's pronounced like that. You got to put the space in between Gavin Hobbs. But I'm just giving him a hard time. Anyway, thank you for joining us. This is our Christian-based podcast where we talk about becoming Christian, staying Christian, and everything along the way as me and Gavin both go through our journey together. Our journey together.
That makes it sound so weird.
But we say that because we were baptized around the same time, actually the exact same day. But we've been going through the motions and going through everything God has put in front of us. And we're here to share some of that with you guys and talk about other various topics, including space and music, but mostly God. So,
yep. Well, Eli, you just gave a really good summary of the podcast. I have nothing to say, literally nothing. So I guess let's
just... Wow, Eli, for the first time you did something correctly. Good job. I got some weird stuff to talk about.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so I'll try to make this quick as our camera battery is dying, and we're just trying to do this as quick as we can.
Right.
Not trying to rush you guys, but we're just trying to get it out there. So I listened to this podcast. I told Gavin a little bit about it. It was about the Dune series, which is...
Oh, yeah.
Basically, if you didn't know... It was Star Wars before Star Wars, but it failed as like a movie thing. So it wasn't the Star Wars, and now we have Star Wars instead. So all that aside, in the series, there's like these group of like lady witches who like set things in motion and get mad when
Lady witch, isn't that an oxymoron? Aren't witches inherently ladies?
Anyways,
I'm sorry, I can't.
They have like these superpowers and stuff, and they like change genetic ancestry and all this, and they're really strange.
Nice.
So you'll know when you watch the movie with me in October.
Okay.
If it comes out in October.
Yeah, we'll see.
But my point is, they're these like special people, and they want to be in control of everything. And so when something doesn't go their way, they get like really upset and whatever. And it was reminding me of kind of how when Jesus came, there was a lot of ideas about what he was going to do, who he was supposed to be, and what people wanted him to be and what people wanted him to stop doing. And they just wanted him to serve their specific purposes. And when I think about, what can God do for me, I realize that's the very wrong thing to be thinking. And I need to actually be looking at what Jesus was there to do, not to be a political standard for me to hold up high and say, this is what it's supposed to be, and whack people over the head with a stick. But, to talk, and then it's not that at all, it's the lamb slain for all of us. And, me being no better. I guess I'm just saying that, you can find Jesus everywhere, including in weird fantasy books. And, I don't know. I thought that, it kind of just reminded me of how people wanted Jesus to be when he got here. He wasn't really that way,
I mean, yeah. What this makes me think of, not that it matters much because this is Eli's segment, it's
just me rambling at this point. You can say whatever.
What that sentence, what we want him to be and what they wanted him to be. Mm-hmm. They wanted him to defeat all the political rivals.
Yeah, they wanted him to be king.
Be the king,
mm-hmm.
and free them from the Romans.
Mm-hmm. And
he didn't do that. He just kind of did the exact opposite, or at least from what they could see, the exact opposite, Yeah. It was just totally different from what they ever thought it would be, so. And we kind of do the same thing, though.
Yeah.
But not in that way. It's more like, oh, Jesus, he's here, and I want him to do this, or I want him to give me a great job, and, I want happiness, and I want this.
What can God do for me,
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Like, viewing it from that perspective, it's not that way at all, though.
Yeah, it's serving him instead, because he's the only one worth serving.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what we always say on this podcast, which is it's a relationship. Christianity is a relationship, not a religion. True. It's a relationship with Christ.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the right religion, it's not a relationship, really.
Yeah.
I mean, here I am a little bit. This is the
pedestal.
warning. But like when you really think about it, everybody says, even if they don't say it, it's like, oh, I'm not religious or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody lives by a religion, like how they treat things, how they get, like, if I only had this thing, I would be complete. There's, I don't really know how else to explain that except by that. It's like you have a way that is your religion, is how you live, the way you think you should live is your religion. And whether people see it or not, that's what they have. And so I don't know. I think what God says is right for us to do is the right thing,
Yeah, I think the whole relationship thing, like if you went into a relationship saying, "Oh, I want this," and
what
this
can this
and
person
this,
do for me?
Yeah, it's
not going down well.
No, it is not going to go down well at all, man. And like we recently talked about with my dad on the recent podcast about toxic masculinity and masculinity overall, masculinity, what he was saying is helping others and asking, what can I do for them?
Right.
It reminds me of that ask not what you can do for your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. But like, in a way, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, because I feel like what we're talking about is a little bit more in a sense
of a little bit more than your country.
It's a relationship with God.
Right.
Not necessarily asking what you can. I think it is asking what you can do for God, but it comes out of this deep love that He has for us. That then
it's not just let me ask what I should do for God just because that's the right thing to do. It's let me ask what I should do for God because I'm so grateful for what God did for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Even when I didn't deserve it, Yeah,
hit the nail on the head there.
We were still evil when we were being saved.
Right.
I was about to say something. Oh, I was listening to Tim Keller today.
Yep.
Do you know who Tim Keller is?
Yeah.
Well,
that bald dude that talks about stuff.
Yeah. But he was talking about this servant mindset, and he was specifically talking about it in marriage, which is interesting to me as I just got married.
Oh, but why'd you look at that?
It was like, it is that. It's the, what can I be doing? Instead of in this argument or whatever, instead of balling up and being whatever, it's actually just looking to what Jesus would do in that situation. He compared it to, like if you read a lot of a certain person's books, or if you listen to a lot of certain person's music, for instance, how they sound, how they would sound if they sang a certain lyric, or if somebody talked about something else, you would know how they would say it. Whereas if we actually took a look at how Jesus would do anything, and we got that so deeply ingrained and lived that out, then it would be of the ultimate servanthood and taking care of literally everyone as you would want to be treated. And it's the best way.
Yeah.
Where do we go from that? We went from what can God do?
A little bit of a rabbit trail there.
I'm sorry, but I was just saying, there are people, we want to be in control of everything, just a little bit, and
just a little bit.
We want to know what we can get from it, and we want to be in control of getting the things, and God doesn't work like that, guys.
Yeah.
And even when I'm like, oh, I got God in my corner, sometimes God's like, hey, I'm going to let you down for a bit because you don't understand that that's not how I work, And I'm just like, God abandoned me. And that's not, He didn't abandon me. He just said, hey, you need to learn that I'm not your personal pocketbook that you can point out and rub in people's faces,
Right. Okay. So this week has been pretty good logistically for me, right? Like I've had good moods, fairly good moods. I mean, I guess it's Tuesday. We're recording this on Tuesday night, so like that's not much time to gauge a week off of.
That's true.
But like it's been a good week. But I've just felt kind of blah. Like just not just
how do you feel today, Gavin?
Reading blah. Reading the Bible, I'm reading the Bible and I'm just not getting a whole lot, and just kind of feeling distant from God. I'll be honest. I don't like saying that, but it's kind of where I am. And I know everyone, you guys always hear me complain about stuff, and this is not a complaint. I actually do have a point with this. Came in here to the podcast and just started hanging out with Eli, which I don't hang out with often. In fact, I only hang out with him pretty much once a week. Which is tonight when we do the podcast.
Right.
Because he's been pretty busy with like marriage stuff, whatever. Anyways, I like just seeing him laughing with him, an old friend, and then talking to him, being like, man, dude, just kind of opening up a little bit and being honest about where I'm at. And like having someone, I don't even know that you asked me any questions, you know? You didn't. It was just like me. I'm like, I just don't know. I guess it's just me opening up because I feel like in order for this podcast to be good, we kind of need to be clear with each other as to where we're at. At least that's kind of my thought process.
I opened up like, hey, I had a rough week. Nothing I wrote actually made sense. Right. I wrote a lot of book stuff and nothing did anything, and I was frustrated, and I was honest about that.
Yeah.
And then you started talking about
it's weird. We kind of do that every time we get together. We kind of be like, this is where we're at, you know? Either we've been doing good or we've been doing
well, it kind of came out of I have nothing for this podcast. Neither do I. But here we are.
Here we are together, showing up. But my point with this was after talking to Eli, after him reminding me, hey, you haven't done the act segment in a while, which I'm hoping to bring back this week, and realizing, okay, yeah, I'm a failure, but there's another chance here. And then Eli even just saying, hey, God loves us as sinners yet, you know? And then just someone, I don't know. Like for me, reading the Bible is good and all, but I feel like that's when the church comes into play too. Because the church brings it alive.
It's a very important part.
And like, I feel like maybe like where two or more are gathered, there I am also.
Yeah.
Bam. You know, so I don't know. Maybe that's stupid and all. But like being around you, Eli, suddenly tonight, like I've started to feel a little bit of the life of God, you know? And it's like, you know it when you feel it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you guys, I know some people, if someone says, oh, it's just the feeling, you know, I feel it in my bones. Feelings, like when I was younger, I was always like feelings, Smeelings, whatever, man. I don't want to hear about your feelings.
Yeah.
But as I got older, I'm just like, yeah, you can actually feel God sometimes. And you do kind of, yeah, I don't know. Like,
yeah, I remember we used to do worship and you were just like, everyone says I feel God in the room and I don't feel God in the room.
I mean,
and I'm like, how don't you feel God in the room, brother?
I'll be honest.
He's just like, I don't, dude. We're just singing right now.
I'll be honest. I still am not totally like, oh, I feel so much. No.
I mean, we started and you were like, I'm not feeling it.
Not feeling anything.
And I was like, all right, let's pray and then get started. It doesn't matter if we're feeling it, you know?
Yeah, but like what I found tonight is like talking with you, opening up, being honest, and then you saying, hey, you haven't done the act segment, so I started desperately reading.
Well, I was like,
acts,
I was like, hey, what happened to it? You know?
Right. And then also like you and me praying together, you know, because we pray every time before we start this podcast, and it's not some weird religious thing. It's literally us, like,
literally like, God, we don't know what to do right now.
We have no clue what we're doing.
Yeah.
Please help us. You know, we need you for this podcast because in the end, this podcast should have ended a long time ago.
Yeah, should have ended with episode 3.
Yeah, it really should have.
Yeah.
Honestly, it shouldn't have even started.
Without God doing anything, we wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, absolutely. But anyways, yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, you guys, if you're feeling that way also, you guys should go find someone. Because literally, like, came down, talked to you, felt depressed, felt happy, and then just like felt a lot of weird emotions. And I hate being emotional because I just hate it. I don't like being emotional. But yeah, I don't know. Find someone, you guys, and maybe pray with them or do something, you know?
Yeah. Well, I would even say is you kind of started your Acts segment.
Yeah.
And you prefaced with, hey, I want to read through Acts, see what the first church did, understand what the church is through it, you know? And unless I'm totally reading you wrong right now, it's kind of sounding like you're saying, you know, this is what it is it's a place to see God in other people where Christ is. Yeah. You know, and it's an integral part of walking that life out, you know? You can't really do it without him. Yeah. You know? Yep. And he is present on the earth in other people through the Spirit.
Yeah. And recently I read this email. I'm subscribed to some weird young men's email thing. Sometimes it's just weird. Sometimes it actually has some stuff in it. But in one of them, it said, "Woe is the man who is alone and has no one to lift him up, when he falls." And it's like, oh, I'm just tacking on to what you said. Because you apparently, that sounded right, whatever you just said about the church.
I don't know what you said, but it was something.
Well, no, about the church being the people living the word around you and encouraging you, and that's really integral.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even Acts, me getting this. That this is literally me just figuring this out in my real life experiences. You know, like I need people around me. And not just the same people necessarily, not just my roommates. I need other people, people I only see once a week.
Yeah.
I guess there's nothing else to say other than that.
Yeah.
We need each other to lift each other up and encourage one another.
Yeah.
And that's so cliche, but it's so true.
Yeah. I mean, and I want to tack on and say, hey, I don't always have those people, but, once I, realize that's the thing I'm missing, I'm going to go find it, dude.
Yeah.
I can't just keep sitting here being like, oh, if only someone would come and lift me up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's it. That's Gavin's woes. And then hopefully there's some sort of redemption
Gavin's
factor
woes,
in there.
But uplifting conclusion.
But maybe exactly. So, yeah, that's all.
From Gavin. That's not the end yet.
That's not the end. Welcome back to the Axe segment.
The Axe segment. Sorry.
We got a new board and we're Eli wanted to goof
We've been
off.
messing
I'm blaming
around.
this on Eli.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Anyways, Eli says, I haven't done the Axe segment in a while, and also he recently said we got to put our heads down and humbly serve.
I mean, Eli's right.
Eli speaketh truth. So, without further ado, I don't remember the last Act chapter we did. I'm pretty sure it was Acts chapter 3.
It was...
Was it?
It was the one where Peter got the Spirit and said some words to that guy.
Oh, yeah. So that was Acts 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're behind, Gavin.
Yeah, apparently
Catch up on the X segment. Where have you been?
Wait, and then we already covered Anairis and Sapphira, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we already covered them. Wow. We went far, you guys. So
Man, I did more than I thought.
Wow,
look at me. I'm so great.
Oh my gosh.
Have you even read this one?
I haven't read this. Oh, dadgummit. I thought it was 4. This is all about Stephen being stoned, man.
That's let me tell you, that's actually I could actually cover this one.
Oh, this is short actually.
Let me tell you, this chapter is amazing because not only does it show like someone being martyred for like what is it, the first time?
And for the record, this is Acts chapter 6.
Yeah. For like he's first martyr, right? I think.
Yeah, Stephen's the first martyr. Yep.
And
I mean, aside from Jesus.
I mean, yeah.
In the sense, the latest Christian murder, not the latest, but the first Christian murder.
Well,
martyr.
The other big thing about it though, like the big thing is, okay, someone died for this faith. Officially, someone has now died for this faith.
Mm-hmm.
A follower of Jesus, And while there's probably, I guess you could say John the Baptist or, other things happened, but like of the church, something has finally happened to this degree. The second thing then is Stephen's whole speech, I guess, to, is it the trial? The people condemning him to death, I think. He basically lays out the entire story of, Jesus and all that very short in like a concise way. And it was like, I believe this because X, Y, Z. And it wasn't like, oh, I believe this because some fanciful, crazy thing. It was like, no, these things happen. You guys know they're in our sacred texts, like the texts of historical value. And because of this thing and this thing, it proves these things. And I believe this man. And they're like, okay, don't care. We're stoning you anyways. And I think it's just such a strong thing for me to read that and be like, okay, I can take great pride in what I believe in because it's actually founded, you know?
Yeah, so I'm going through this. It's Acts chapter 6 through 7. This whole thing happens.
I'm talking about the right chapter, right?
Well, what happens is it starts in 6.
Yeah.
And then it bleeds over into 7. So what happens is at the end of 6, they basically, someone spreads stuff about Stephen, and they're like, hey, he's speaking blasphemous words.
Mm-hmm.
And so they bring him in front of the teachers and all that, Pharisees, and they ask him, hey, did you say these blasphemous words? And then at the end of chapter 6, it says they saw his face as the face of an angel. And then after
I must have skipped over that bit. What?
You never don't remember that?
That's cool.
Yeah, it says right here. I'm reading the New King James Version for those of you who want to know. It says, "For we have heard him say, this Jesus of Nazareth will destroy this place and change the customs which Moses delivered to us. And all who sat in the council, looking steadfastly at him, saw his face as the face of an angel." Period. And then we got chapter 7. And this is Stephen's address, the call of Abraham. And Stephen, like you said, gives us super long. It covers like all the way through chapter 7, which is pretty long. Like this whole history.
Well, when I said it was short, I mean like he basically takes the entire history of the Bible and says, because of these events and this thing and that, this is why I believe
right.
Jesus. And you guys know all this stuff. And I'm telling you now,
yeah,
Jesus is the one, you know?
Right. So anyways, yeah, and then they cried out it says, at the end of it says, when they heard these things, they were cut to the heart, and they gnashed at him with their teeth. But he, being full of the Holy Spirit, gazed into heaven and saw the glory of God, and Jesus standing at the right hand of God, and said, look, I see the heavens opened, and the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God. Then they cried out with a loud voice, stopped their ears, and ran at him with one accord. And they cast him out of the city and stoned him. And the witnesses laid down their clothes at the feet of a young man named Saul. And they stoned Stephen as he was calling on God and saying, Lord Jesus, receive my spirit.
And then Saul was there.
And then you've got this whole thing. Then he knelt down and cried out with a loud voice, Lord, do not charge them with this sin. And when he had said this, he fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
That always makes me think of the 10th Avenue North verse. I think it was, it's in their song, The Struggle. Says something like, to the degree of, Lord, Father, forgive them, for they know.
Yeah, it's the losing song.
Losing.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones.
Not what they are doing. You know, it's so hard to say that.
They don't
even
know what they've been doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm gonna dig deeper into this chapter 7, because I don't want to just be like, here's chapter 7, Stephen gets martyred, because I feel like there's a lot of good stuff that he actually says in this whole like brief history of the Bible.
If I ever need like something like a foundation strengthener for a minute, I would literally just read this. Yeah. Because everything he says in there is phenomenal. On top of that, like it opens the door to here's Saul/Paul, you know, persecuting Christians. You know, he was there, you know, doing so.
Right.
You know.
And it's just crazy. Like imagine being one guy and there's so many people around you.
Mm-hmm.
All against you.
Yeah.
And it's just you there and they're all staring down. For some reason, I always pictured like a Colosseum type scenario where he's just like sitting down here and everyone's up and around him all, Pew! Yeah. And then they just rush down there. And
I don't know what that building actually looks like, so I couldn't say.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But
also, I read this story when I was in English class a long time ago, and it was this whole story, and it was this dark, really dark short story about basically a stoning, but it never says the word stoning, and you don't realize what's happening till like the end of the story.
What's the story?
And it was basically just about they had to stone one person, and it was actually about some political thing. Someone wrote it saying we have these old traditions that we need to throw out, but it was about stoning. And for me, the story was so horrifying because it made stoning seem so normal when it was like you realize the horrifying reality of stoning.
It's the mob mentality.
Yeah, it really demonstrated the mob mentality. And every time I read that story of Stephen, I think of that because in this short story, I'll find it and link it in the description. The story really gives you an idea, oh my gosh, what must it be like to actually be stoned? Like, dude.
Yeah.
You could be like, no, please stop. Never mind, I take that all away. Please stop
And they'd
throwing
be like,
rocks
no,
at
you
me.
said it. Die,
I don't know. Like,
well,
that's major, dude. Being stoned.
Yeah, for real.
That's what I think about.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
maybe that's not what you're supposed to think about.
It's the same like thing of being burned at the stake, for example.
Right.
Which is another way that Christians were martyred, and probably still are.
Mm-hmm.
But
the one thing that, like, I think of that and I'm like, oh my gosh, could I ever do that? I don't know that I ever could be stoned without taking back and being like, what was it? Peter, and being like, no, I don't know. Never mind.
Yeah, denying it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then my dad said, he told me this story once that he read in a book, and these two people, they're like, hey, I don't know if this one younger Christian was like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough what it takes. I don't know that if I can do this, because they were pretty sure they were going to get caught. Like they're in this country that martyred Christians.
Yeah.
And he said, can you give me a sign or something that if God gives you the strength to go through what you're going through when you get martyred, essentially. Mm-hmm. And the guy was like, yeah, I'll give you some sort of sign. I'll say something. And so that guy, they were in line to get basically burned at the stake. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably butchering the story, but this is the main point. The first older Christian goes in first to get burned and yells out something like, I have it. Or I don't know what he said, but it was something to the degree of, I have what it takes. Jesus is here. And then the other guy was like, okay, I can do this. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up being burned at the stake too, or something like that. Or some other, I don't even know how the story was transferred off, and I'm probably butchering all that, but that always struck me, and I was like, okay, well, if I trust in God and I'm going after him with all my heart, I have to trust that he'll give me what it takes to take whatever goes in my path, whatever suffering comes, Yeah. Because he promised he'd be with us, but he didn't promise that there wouldn't be suffering.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm pretty sure he promised there would be suffering.
Yeah, he's like, eventually, he'll go through some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's kind of a dark note, I feel like.
I mean, that kind of stuff is still happening.
Yeah.
Really, when you think about it. And it's important to keep people who are going through those things in your prayers and be thinking about them and provide support if you can, really.
Right.
It sounds like I'm about to segue into, our charity.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I remember seeing something new. I'm wrapping this up, but I remember seeing something recently that was coming from a secular worldview kind of thing. It was like, okay, if we're really trying to provide support and love to all sorts of people no matter their religion, makeup, diversity, background, their race or whatever, then we also need to care about Christians being persecuted. Mm-hmm. It's like, look, these churches are being burned down. This one happened last week, stuff in countries like this. And I was like, hey, that's encouraging, that, because at some point, for in the public eye, we're like the enemy, the people who have the tradition from 2,000 years ago that we should look at, when 2,000 years ago is not a long time.
Yeah.
But this stuff people want to ditch and get mad at us for saying, but here in America, we have it pretty safe.
Yeah.
We get to say things and
we get to do a podcast.
Not
get hunted down and taken out.
Right. And, there are people who might listen to people's podcasts. It's just like, oh, they got it easy, I want to get to that point. And,
Wait, you want to get to that point? What?
Where they have it easier. Where they're not stuck in suffering.
Oh, okay.
For what they believe.
Yeah.
And at some level, we have some kind of persecution, but it's not nearly
like
that
honestly,
fatal.
It's barely worth mentioning. It's like
it's not worth mentioning.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I'll look at our statistics sometimes and it'll be like, oh, over in this country, someone's listening to the podcast. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I feel like an idiot if they're listening. If someone over there,
listen to this little privileged kid who's probably never been through struggling.
Some little privileged kid in his nice little
talking
studio,
about not having feelings about following.
Life
and
is
how
so
it's so
rough.
hard.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, give me a break.
Yeah. They fly over here just to slap you.
Yeah. They just come in like, hey, what's your address? Like, oh, here's my address. Like, oh, okay, cool.
I want to come meet you guys.
Come meet you guys. We just walk up, walk around. And I'm like, dare you? Oh, man. Yeah, anyways, not to make light of that, but.
No, yeah, for real. I mean, yeah, we are honored to even be this far.
Yeah, we're honored to have anyone listening, honestly.
Yeah. On that note.
Anyways, yep. I don't know. Do we want to give a quick synopsis of Acts? Acts. Stephen was martyred, which is like no small thing. I feel like that's
why we sat here talking about it for longer than usual.
So much, Oh, just first martyr. Blah blah blah. No, dude, that's insane.
It's big. Yeah.
He was stoned.
Mm-hmm.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, and that's the kind of strength we will get.
Yeah.
We can have and we should find. Not find, but ask God for.
Also, something interesting, they spread rumors about him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, is that one of the first? No, it's not the first. Is it one of the first times that they really just start spreading rumors about
Christian people?
It isn't the first, but it's one of the first. I feel like they start it's a common thing. People spread rumors about Christians that are false. So I don't know. That's a small thing.
I mean, look at the amount of apologetics books. You walk into a Christian bookstore and there's an entire shelf dedicated to apologetics, which the word apologetics makes it sound like they're apologizing for all the things Christians have done. But it's not. It's literally just addressing misconceptions and rumors.
Yeah.
And saying, no, this is not how Christians go. This is what we believe. It's not what you think it is. And if you take a moment to listen, you'll see that.
But this is a common thing, and this is going to continue to happen. It started happening right then. People started spreading rumors because they didn't like Stephen.
I know I've been saying it happens now, addressing other countries, but it happens. This is going to sound like a anti-technology thing to say, but it happens a lot just over social.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can say anything, claim anything about anyone you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, what's interesting too is Stephen isn't like, how dare you spread these rumors about me? He's just like, hey guys, now that you ask, let me clear this up.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to pick out things that I can possibly learn from this. And that's one of the things
I want courage like that, man.
We don't have to go and say, hey guys, by the way, there's this misconception. It's just like, oh, you asked. Let me just tell you real quick,
Okay. Do what you will.
Right. Yeah. And then at the end, after they had this whole misconception, and then because they're cut to the heart, they want to get rid of him.
Yeah, they're convicted. They're like, oh.
And then he says, oh, forgive them.
Mm-hmm.
They know not what they do.
They something that always happens when you read what Jesus says is oh, he's actually speaking the truth to exactly my life and everything I've ever experienced. And
it's convicting.
It hurts a little bit, and it does. You can either do one of two things from that: run from it in the opposite direction, pretending it never happened, or
try to kill it, which is what they did.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Pretend it didn't exist, or face it.
Come to terms that, the
gospel changes everything.
And that means you have to change.
I do.
Yeah, you, Eli.
Oh, no.
We say all these things, and this is very much for me, even.
Mm-hmm.
I have to change, and changing hurts, man.
Yeah, it does.
Changing means being uncomfortable.
I don't like being uncomfortable.
No one does, hence the name.
Uncomfortable.
Not comfortable, which is what everyone strives for.
Right.
Anyways, I feel like we've rambled enough about the Acts, so this has been the Acts segment.
It's over now. Go about your day.
Well, we got to do the outro real quick.
That's right.
Yeah. Just so you guys know, we would just talk about this stuff normally and get all deep and sad if we weren't on the podcast. So you're just witnessing us in our natural habitat.
Here we see the Christians.
Here we see the two Christian boys, very privileged in America, getting sad
about things that honestly...
things that aren't even happening to them.
Anyways, that is the Axe segment. You guys should be expecting it next week, and if you don't get it next week, send me hate mail, please. Please do.
I'll hit him for
and
you.
Eli will grab the nearest bat and whack me over the head.
I have things I'm supposed to do, but I haven't been doing either, so don't.
I can't remember them, so I can't
don't call me out.
Yeah, call you out.
Thank you guys for listening.
Or watching.
Watching
snap,
this episode.
You remembered.
Boom. Knew I'd do it this time.
Nice.
This episode of the Staying Christian podcast, we are very honored that you chose to listen to this podcast. And
yeah,
we're glad that God's kept it around this long and let us do things with it that, I mean, honestly, I would say it was blasphemous. How dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for being here. If you liked it, you can send us a DM on Instagram at Staying Christian. Let us know. Or you can also tell us you hated it there.
Or you can email us, stayingchristian@gmail.com. Or you can leave a poor review for us on the Apple Podcast store thingy.
Help less people see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Give us a nice big fat thumbs down.
Caesar in the Colosseum.
It's just like,
throwing us down. But yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah, 100%.
We're glad you tuned in.
Stay real, you lot.
Stay Christian, you lot.
Bye.
Bye. In the middle of the outro, I looked right at the stage light, this light, and like my eyes, I'm like, oh.
You were just like blinking or something.
No, it actually hurt for a minute. I was like,
dude, it's a freakishly bright.
It's bright.
Light.
And I was like,
bright.
oh.